What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and I'm here to give you my reaction to The Last of Us Episode 3. Now, I just finished watching this episode, and if you were on the watch party, you saw me watching it and saw my reactions during the episode. Um, I will say this episode was a boring to me. It was. And it was boring in the sense that it threw me a curve. And in the middle of what I thought would be an episode about Ellie and Joel having to bond and dealing with Tess dying, I got this whole love story between two characters of Bill and Frank in a homosexual relationship over the course of about 16 years. Now, whereas I'm from California and I don't care, I'm indifferent really to homosexual or lesbian relationships. Those don't bother me. Seeing them on the screen is something different, especially if I'm not expecting it and I'm not watching a movie specifically designed for that. Now, I had a couple of people on the watch party, one of which has played the game. And when it got down to that part, he was telling me flat out that that's not from the game. This was not from the game. So it made me really wonder why it took a whole swerve. And while I watched it and the love story in it sound really ridiculous, and it's not because it was two guys, it just sounded ridiculous on his face of it, how it was set up. It's like, it wasn't that damn good, right? Now, be that as it may, this episode has Joel and Ellie dealing with, or partially dealing with, the fact that Tessa's gone, they're together, and now they're back out on the road to head in the direction that they were going to, which was to see Bill and Frank. And you get a little bit more of Ellie being irritatingly precocious, whereas asking questions on top of each other of Joel, and Joel trying to tune her out and still get to where he is going. I will say that I can't remember the girl's name who's playing Ellie. As a character, is annoying. She is annoying. In this episode, she did some annoying shit to me and some almost suspect stuff when Joel and Ellie get to this little it's not even a rest stop, it's like a gas station or store or something like that, a general store that Joel has hidden some items in, and Ellie gets to wander around on her own by herself. Now, a lot of the stuff that happened in that scene bothered me because it was not, Joel was not doing the things to actually secure the area or protect it, and left Ellie to just go off to her own devices in a place that he has not explored to make sure it was safe yet. And she's just going off and doing more things that are unsafe. Now, through the course of that, she comes upon I don't know what we call these things, an infected. And she kind of does a little bit of torture because it's trapped under rubble. She kind of cuts it to see what it does and then stabs it in the head and kills it. Now, she does this not because she has to, just because she wants to. But when she comes back, she doesn't tell Joel anything about it, which is a bit disturbing to me. Outside of the fact that Joel just left her to just wander off on her own without inspecting the place and making sure it's safe. Now, after that scene, you get this whole middle section of the episode, which is really the bulk of the episode, which is about introducing you to Bill and how Bill resisted or basically hid out from being evacuated from the small town, stayed, and then was left in the town by himself. and that Bill is a survivalist and a prepper. So he had weapons and guns and stuff like that. And so as the town is empty, he gets the rest of the stuff he needs and builds his fortifications and fortifies his town and stays for years until 4 years later he catches somebody in some of the traps he has laid, and this person that has fallen into this trap is Frank. And Frank is alone and hungry and one of what was 10 people, and eventually gets called into let in past the gate into the house by Bill. And after one meal, he finagles a way to stay by playing music, Linda Ronstadt, and figuring out that, excuse me, Bill was possibly gay because he played a Linda Ronstadt song with such passion and heart and said that he wasn't writing it about a girl. He wasn't singing it about a girl. And from that, Frank just knows he's gay and kisses him on the mouth. And I'm like, that's not how that shit works. Are you serious? So beyond that, you got a lot of scenes with a lot of middle-aged, bearded, gray-haired men kissing and flopping over each other. Look, I don't watch gay porn because it's not interesting to me. So when I'm watching a show about zombies, I'm not expecting to get that because it's not of interest to me. Now, it doesn't mean that, that I do not know it happens. It's not nothing I choose to see. So I'm kind of put off in the sense that it was put out there like that to see. Now, I wonder about this show being on HBO, being based on a video game, about them throwing that in there so heavy. It's like how many teenagers and young kids are seeing this. I am curious about that. Concerned, maybe not, but I am curious about what that is. Now, from the time that Bill and Frank are together, since they engage in a relationship, since Frank expresses to him that he's not a whore, he's doing this because he likes him over the course of a couple hours. They end up in a relationship, and 3 years later, you fast forward to them having a fucking argument, which is a dumbass argument to me to have, where Frank is actually claiming some rights about the house and the place that they are, and he wants to repaint and have friends and stuff like that, which sounds absolutely fucking ridiculous. I mean, literally sounds ridiculous. But be that as it may, Bill acquiesces, and you get the interest of how Bill and Frank end up meeting Joel and Tess, because Frank wants to have dinner parties and shit. And for me, I'm looking at this like, this is fucking dumb. It is 6 years after everything has fallen to shit, or 6 years after you've met him, which is 4 years after everything has fallen to shit. So at that rate, 13 years later, you are worried about having dinner parties and friends with stuff that you didn't make, you didn't acquire, and you didn't maintain. So like a female, he's came along with the vagina in the situation and now dictating terms a couple years later. And what needs to change and what needs to not happen. That shit was bothering me. Because you didn't see him do anything in the 6 years he was there, besides bitch. And tell Bill what to do. Now, get through this episode and you find out that after another time jump, another 10 years, get up to current times, 2023, you find out that Frank is in a wheelchair and dying. And he decides that this is going to be his last day, and he wants Bill to do all these specific things for him to give him one more good day. Now, I will say this that I did like about this because it did show, in the sense of a love story, that there are bad days in relationships. There are, but the good days outweigh the bad if you focus on the good days and not the bad days. I appreciated that because that is indicative of how relationships go. You have some good days, you have some bad days. Hopefully, your good days outweigh your bad days. It's just what it is. That's the nature of dealing with people. It's just the nature of it. So, even in this context of this story with two homosexual men, I can appreciate that because for me, at base, which is why I don't worry about hetero or homosexual relationship, at base, if it's about love, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's the same shit. You're going to be dealing with the same problems anyway because people are still people. Male, male, female, female, male to female. It's always going to be the same kind of bullshit. People bring their own mess with them. So that part I appreciate. The other part is that I was disliking was the fact that showing these two men having this long relationship together, but it's kind of queered in the fact, no pun intended, that the reason they're having this close relationship with each other is because they're lovers, not because they could have been friends, just because they're lovers. And to me, it just shines a light that the idea is put out there that men cannot be close like that unless they're lovers or gay, and I don't believe that at all. So at the end of this day, Frank wants Bill to give him his fatal dose of medication and wants to go to bed together with him holding him. And I won't ruin that part of the episode, but he does. Bill acquiesces and gives Frank what he wants. And then you pick back up with Ellie and Joel coming to the town and looking for Bill and Frank. Now, because the bulk of this episode was taken up with this love story in the middle of it, it was a little bit reminiscent of V for Vendetta for me. That right in the middle of V for Vendetta, it was this whole story about this lesbian woman who was in love with this other woman, right? And that was the whole purpose of V using the red Carlisles, those red flowers, to put on people because he was getting vengeance for this woman who was persecuted and died, not just for the stuff that happened to him in this program, but her who was also in this program and died. And getting all this middle story about her and her love affair with this person and all the rest of the shit in a context of why does this even matter? This ain't even the main love story in this. So it felt a little like that. Here I am, I tuned in for one thing, and you forcing something else in my face, very long, that could have been very uncomfortable. It's not my cup of tea, right? But overall, if I look at the episode on its totality, what did I get out of the episode? Nothing. I just found out about who Bill was getting it on with and how their relationship was. But it did nothing to further the story of what was going on with Joel and Ellie, the main characters. You wasted a whole episode on two characters that are dead. You introduced two and kill in the same episode. So why bother? I thought it was a waste. And on the recording, I played the behind the scenes stuff where they were talking. And one of the, I guess it was producers or whatever, was talking about he's watched the scene 200 times and he cries every time. And I'm sitting there looking like, you're a fucking bitch. There wasn't nothing to cry about. Disappointing, heartbreaking, sad, yes. But hey, I didn't see shit worth crying about. But different strokes for different folks. So for me, I'm waiting to see what the geek or fan backlash is going to be about this, and see if people really get caught on the carpet to see who's brave enough to say they didn't like this shit. I'm really curious to see that, because I just said on Sunday how, given that The Last of Us is getting great reviews on the first 2 episodes, it can tank after that. It can. So I'm interested to see what people think of this episode. But that's it for me. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. I've been Artisan MC, and this is my reaction to Last of Us Episode 3. See you guys next time.